this is Andrea, and on this video I'm sharing 4 simple and delicious budget-friendly ground beef recipes. And as always, I'll make sure to leave all of the recipes in the description box. The first recipe that I'm starting off with is hamburger green bean casserole. So let me show you what you're going to need. You're going to need some milk, ground beef, and I'm using lean ground beef so I don't have to worry about draining the fat during this recipe. You'll use the seasonings of your choice. I've got some salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. You're going to need a can of green beans and a can of cream of mushroom soup, some French fried onions, and freshly grated cheese of your choice. I used an 8-ounce block of Monterey Jack, but if you prefer cheddar or some other type of cheese, please feel free to use it. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off by browning my ground beef and then add the seasonings of your choice, and you're just going to cook it until it's done. And once your ground beef has finished cooking, you're just going to remove it from the heat. To your ground beef, you're going to add 1 can of green beans. Make sure that you drain them very well. Your can of cream of mushroom soup. And when you're seasoning your meat, do make sure that you go easy on the salt, excuse me, because there's a lot of salt, of course, in this cream of mushroom soup. And then you're gonna add in your milk and just give it a good stir. Next, add in about half of those French fried onions and give it a good stir. Next, you're gonna pour the mixture into an 11 by 7 casserole dish. And once you have everything in your casserole dish, you're gonna top it with your cheese. Now, we like a lot of cheese, so I'm gonna use the majority of the 8 ounces, but if you want less, if you want more, feel free to adjust to your taste. Okay, so now this is ready to go into my preheated oven for about 25 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. I just took the casserole out of the oven. Now I'm just sprinkling those remaining French fried onions right on top, and then I'm gonna pop it back into the oven for about 5-10 minutes, or whenever those French fried onions get nice and golden brown. Okay, so I just took the casserole out of the oven. I'm gonna let this cool for a few minutes, and then I'll get it plated up and show y'all how I serve it. Okay, so here is everything all plated up. I'm serving mine over mashed potatoes. It would be good over rice as well, or even by itself to keep it a lower carb option. And I've got a yeast roll on the side. Stay tuned for our next meal. Next up, I'm making barbecue bacon mini meatloaves. So let me show you what you'll need. You're gonna need 1.5 pounds of lean ground beef, some barbecue seasoning, chopped cooked bacon, barbecue sauce, an egg, breadcrumbs, and I'm using panko breadcrumbs, and you're also going to need some shredded cheddar cheese. I definitely recommend you shredding your own cheese instead of using the pre-shredded because it'll melt a lot better. All right, so let's get started on this quick and easy recipe. Okay, so let's start on our meatloaf here, and I'm just breaking up the ground beef. Now, of course, if your family's not into ground beef and you prefer turkey or chicken, it would also be delicious in this recipe. So first I'm gonna add in my barbecue seasoning, and if you wanna add any additional seasonings, of course, that's totally up to you. Adding in my breadcrumbs, my egg, and I'm just gonna give it a good stir. Next, I'm adding in my cooked bacon, and I'm just gonna get in there with my hands to make sure it's well incorporated. Next, I have a greased muffin tin, and I'm gonna take about 1/3 cup of the meat mixture, and I'm going to firmly press it down into each muffin tin. Okay, so I have my meat all packed into the tins. I am going to bake these at 350 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes or until the thermometer reads 160 degrees. Okay, so I just took the meatloaves out of the oven, and all I'm going to do is just brush a little barbecue sauce right on top. And once you have the barbecue sauce on each one, you're just gonna top it with a little bit of shredded cheese. And then you're gonna pop it back into the oven for a few minutes until that cheese melts. Okay, so here is everything all plated up. These little meatloaves are so good. Serving them with a side of homemade mashed potatoes and some sauteed baby broccoli on the side. Next up, I'm making 10-minute stroganoff. This is one of my favorite recipes. It's a classic Southern living recipe, and when I first started cooking, this is one of the first things that I made. So let me show you what you're gonna need. You're gonna need some ground beef, some fresh sliced mushrooms, the seasoning of your choice, and I'm using this Kinder's Master Seasoning, which has garlic, sea salt, and butter. You're going to need 1 large sliced onion, sour cream, and make sure you use full fat. And then you're also going to need some cream of mushroom soup. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by browning my ground beef. So I've got my ground beef in a skillet, and then I'm just adding in my seasoning. And while you're waiting for your ground beef to cook, go ahead and boil your water for your egg noodles or make your rice if you'd like. Okay, so now that my meat is done, I'm just removing it from the skillet and then putting it on a paper towel lined plate to let it drain. Okay, so next I'm just gonna add my mushrooms and onions back into the very same skillet. Since I was using a lean ground beef, I didn't have a whole lot of fat, so I didn't have to worry about wiping that skillet out. But if you use a fattier ground beef, you may have to wipe out some of that grease. So I've got my burner on a medium-high heat, and I'm just gonna let these cook down just a little bit. So it's been about 6 minutes, and they're cooking, the vegetables are cooking down nicely. I just added a little bit of salt in there. Again, feel free to add whatever seasonings you'd like. Okay, so now that my veggies are ready, I'm just adding my ground beef back into the skillet. And I'm adding in my sour cream and my cream of mushroom soup. Okay, so once you have it all in the pan, you're gonna reduce the heat to medium. Give it a good stir, get everything all combined, and then let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Okay, so here is everything all plated up. We absolutely love this dish and hope y'all love it too. Next up, I'm making Italian meat pie. You are going to need ground beef, a packet of spaghetti sauce mix seasoning, 1 deep dish par-baked pie shell, some chopped peppers, and I'm using assorted bell peppers, but you can use green or whatever color you'd prefer, some Parmesan cheese, mozzarella cheese, tomato paste, and the seasonings of your choice. I'm using garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. So I'm gonna start off by browning my ground beef and my peppers. And this is also where you're going to season your meat. I'm just adding in my onion powder, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. I'm not using any additional salt because the cheese is salty, the tomato paste is gonna be salty, so I'm not really worried about adding extra salt to this dish. Okay, and once your meat has browned, you're gonna add in some water, the packet of the spaghetti sauce mix, and your tomato paste. And then you're just gonna give it a good stir, cover, and let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Okay, so I just took my meat sauce off the stove. Now it's time to put everything together. I'm putting about half of my mozzarella cheese at the bottom of that pie shell. Then you're gonna layer half of your meat sauce right on top. Then you're gonna sprinkle your parm on. And then you're gonna add another layer of meat sauce and finish up with a layer of mozzarella cheese. Okay, so this is ready to go into the oven. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm gonna let this bake for about half an hour or until that cheese is nice and melted on top. Okay, so here is the Italian meat pie. I let it bake for 30 minutes, as I mentioned. And as you can see, I sprinkled a little bit of parsley on top. And I am serving it up with a side salad. I hope you all enjoyed these quick and easy ground beef dinners. If you did, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we'd certainly love to have you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.